So hey guys, this is Navdeep Singh. Thank you for clicking this thumbnail. Today we are talking about a new case here. So this is an application for study permit got refused. So let's see what happened. The applicant name is Mr. Amarjeet Singh. So the applicant is a citizen of India who is currently studying in UK. His parents live in India, as do his three brothers. The applicant's sister lives in Canada with her husband. So the applicant holds a diploma in hotel management, catering technology and tourism from Punjab University in India. He is currently enrolled at a graduate school in UK where he is working towards a Bachelor of Science in International Tourism and Hospitality Management. On 1st April 2011, the applicant received an offer from George Brown College in Toronto while in UK to study in Hospitality and Tourism Leisure Diploma here. He accepted the offer and paid his tuition fee and expecting to begin his studies on 6th of September 2011. To study at GBC, the applicant applied for a study permit to come to Canada. The Canada's High Commission in London, UK, received his application on 10th of August 2011. With his application, the applicant included a letter from his sister's Member of Parliament, the Honourable Burl Gosal, which asked the officer to consider the applicant's case. The applicant also submitted a letter in which he told the officer why he wanted to study at GBC, an affidavit from the Renial. So in this affidavit, Renial said that he would pay the applicant's accommodation, travel, living expenses in Canada and guaranteed the applicant would return to India would not be a liability to any level of the government in Canada. So the officer considered applicant's submission and refused his application. On that day, she wrote 2 letters to the applicant informing him of her decision. So the decision in the case consists of 2 letters the officer sent to the applicant, refusal letters and officer's notes on the file in the global case management system. The refusal notes indicate that the officer was unsatisfied that the applicant met all the requirements of the Act. In particular, the officer was not satisfied that the applicant would leave Canada at the end of his stay. So given his travel history, immigration status, family ties to Canada, the officer also referred to the applicant's general academic progression as a factor in the decision to refuse the application. So in the GCMS notes, the officer noted that the applicant had been previously refused a study permit in August 2011. The officer also noted that he has a BSc in International Tourism from Graduate School in London, UK, and was enrolled in Hospitality and Tourism Diploma here at GBC. Given his BSc and earlier diploma in Hotel Management, Catering Technology and Tourism, so the officer found it was not logical for the applicant to undertake studies at a lower level in Canada. She found that he had not explained why he would not stay in the UK to complete his studies, which were scheduled to end in 2013. So the officer noted that the applicant's status in the UK was temporary. She was concerned his aim was to stay in Canada permanently. She found that the applicant's ties to India were not strong enough to motivate him to return there at the end of his stay. The officer also found that the applicant had strong family ties to Canada and was young, single, and mobile. He had also never traveled internationally, so the officer was not satisfied. The applicant was a temporary student, so she refused his application for a study permit. There are some arguments which happened, and the applicant says the officer was obligated to call him for an interview to address concerns she had about his application. He points to remember giving reference to the other cases where Justice Richard held a visa officer was required to call a visa applicant for an interview to address concerns raised by extrinsic evidence. So she was required to allow him an opportunity to respond to the concerns about the credibility, accuracy, genuine nature of the information he submitted. So if the officer had the concerns about the applicant's credibility or the credibility of the documents he submitted, she was obligated to call him for an interview and address those concerns. Blah blah blah. So officer ignored the evidence. The applicant says the officer concluded that he was not a genuine temporary student in the face of all the documents he submitted that showed otherwise. So this shows that the officer failed to consider all the evidence before her. When officer found that he had no international travel experience, she ignored his current residence in the UK. She also ignored evidence, and when she concluded that his family ties in India were not strong enough to motivate him to return there, on the completion of his studies. The applicant's application showed his mother, father, 3 brothers live in India, which the officer clearly ignored. Conversely, the officer concluded that the Canada's pull on the applicant was strong, even though his application showed he only has one sister here. So the officer failed to account for the. So these are the arguments probably which were filed later on by the representative of the applicant. This is how the visa officer responded. The respondent further says the officer did not ignore the evidence when she concluded that the applicant is not a genuine temporary resident. The GCM's notes indicate that the officer was clearly aware that the applicant was living in the UK, so it is clear that she was not referring to his time there when she said he had no international travel. Her conclusion on this point was reasonable in the context of the decision and record as a whole. So although the applicant disagrees with the officer's findings about the strength of his ties to India and Canada, the respondent says her findings were reasonable. It was reasonable for the officer to conclude that a sister in Canada was a factor which showed he would not leave Canada at the end of his stay. Further, even though the officer did not specifically mention the applicant's reasons for studying at GBC, this doesn't mean that she didn't consider them. So the officer's reasons should not be read microscopically on the whole, and they show the officer considered the totality of the evidence. So these are the GCM's notes. I reviewed principal applicant's application in FOSS, seen previous student study permit refusal in early August this year. Principal applicant is reapplying. 25-year-old single male from India, SP in the UK, valid until 2013, has BSc in International Tourism and from grad school in London, except at George Brown College in Hospitality Tourism. Note that the principal applicant's sister resides in Canada on file copy of the letter from Honorable Bal Council, Canadian Minister for this of State for Sports, LOFA with tuition fee. Letter of acceptance with tuition fee of 11,961 Canadian dollars, which appear to have been paid. Letter of sponsorship from PA's brother-in-law in Canada. Principal applicant proof of funds and documents relating to Canada's Canadian family. Transcripts from principal applicant studies in India, proof of studies in the UK, as well as various supporting documents. So principal applicant obtained a diploma from Punjab Technical University in Hotel Management, getting Technology and Tourism in 2006. He is also currently undertaking a BSc Honours in International Tourism and Hospitality. It doesn't appear logical that principal applicant would now undertake studies at a lower academic level in this field. It is not clearly explained why the applicant would not remain in UK to complete his current course, which is due to end in 2013. Concerns that the main aim is to enter and remain in Canada. The principal applicant's status in the UK is temporary, and with the information on the file, I'm not satisfied that principal applicant's ties are strong enough to motivate departure from Canada. Pull to Canada also appears strong due to family ties. Principal applicant has no international travel. He is young, single, with no dependents, and is highly mobile. So with the documents and information on the file, I am not satisfied that the principal applicant is a genuine temporary student who will leave Canada at the end of his stay. SP refused. So this is the response from the applicant, as you can see here. So you can just pause the video and see what happened at the end. The judicial review got dismissed. So the takeaway from this application could be, one is to keep your pull factors to Canada in mind while applying for the study permit, number one. Secondly, also the program selection. So the program should show a clear progression. For instance, if you have completed a bachelor's in India, so you must be undertaking or must intend to undertake postgraduate level of studies. Alright, so thank you so much for watching this video. See you in the next video. Thank you. Bye bye.